As my subject matter is vast and convoluted, my first step was to read as widely as possible and to read as many things as possible. I wanted to understand how people feel about this in an emotional or intuitive sense, and I wanted to know why they value land in the first place and what land represents to these people. I also wanted facts and figures to know what has been done about it so far, to know who owns land, what changes have been made, and what our constitution says, for example, with regards to expropriation without compensation of private property. To these ends, I read government's reports, parliamentary reports, journalist pieces, opinion pieces. I looked at online forums that I joined, and I spoke to as many people as I possibly could. My friends, my family, I asked them to speak to people that they know and report back to me about people's feelings. All of this I did without a particular research question in mind and no agenda. I kept my mind open and just compiled as much information as I could. While reading for approximately 3 weeks, I made particular note of stories about individuals with names, locations. This brought the issue home to me. It made it a lot more real, human, and tangible in that sense. Any interesting facts or figures that I could present in a graph or in another visual way, I also included, and I made a particular note to keep my sources and references of the information. Using all the information I'd gathered thus far, I purposefully composed 2 bad framings. I made them as biased as possible, I used inflammatory language, I tried to make them as divisive as possible, and I put the 2 groups against each other. In the first bad framing, I sided with the landless and I tried to inflame them against the landowners, and in the second, it was the other way around. From these 2 experiments, I figured out and I learned which phraseology, turns of phrase, vocabulary, and other linguistic devices are very bad to use in a framing, how to remove any divisive language, how to reduce the emotional impact of my language, and then from there I could try and compose a more neutral framing.